What up, Internet land? Mark Fest, author of the soon-to-be-released Surthrival Guide to Live in America Without a Car. On this video, I'm going to talk about working from home, specifically things to think about in regards to a home office. Which leads to the question, what does this have to do with living car-free? Point blank, no matter what you drive or don't drive, you have to make the money work. Which means you have to make the job work, which, if you're working from home, means you have to make the home office work. There will be other videos on this channel that cover commuting to a job and generally getting around. This one is about the home office. Given the COVID-induced changeover to working from home, and that a lot of people are still struggling to adapt to that, along with the others who have been laid off and are now wondering how to best use the space they still have to get something going for themselves. Especially when you're used to commuting to a job. Except, who wants to do that now? You have to wear a mask to a lot of jobs, and many more jobs are hounding people to get vaccinated, which, whether you want the shots or not, that's a private decision that you want to make, not one you want to have foisted upon you. Yeah, we know COVID to be serious until we look at the desks, break rooms, restrooms, facilities, and realize anything that's not a management office has not been cleaned, certainly not properly since the Clinton administration. Then, aside from germs, depending on what protests or upsets are going on where you live, you get to worry about running the gauntlet of roadblocks, airborne bricks, crazy people, to get to and from the office as general public safety and order deteriorate. Regardless, 2020s. If you don't work from home yet, this is an excellent time to get something going for yourself. Ideally, you get so successful you have to seek space outside of home. But for now, how to make working from home actually work out? No matter what time you begin work, no matter what time you wrap up, the most important part of any workspace is you. So let's talk about you working from home, whether it's due to COVID or simply the type of job you are blessed with. Good news, you don't have to wear a suit. You can if you want to. If that's your thing, go for it. There's that weird 5% or so of business people who prefer a suit and indeed feel much more at home in one. It's their thing. If that's you, have at it from home. Sadly, the more common refrain, I can do just as good of a job working in my underwear. I don't mean to insult your intelligence here, but given some of what has shown up on the Daily Mail, sadly, it's gotta be said. Come on, have a little more respect for yourself. Besides, what if? Oh, great. Now you have to stand up in the middle of your video conference to go attend to that. And now you forage for something to put on because even if no coworker spotted your bare form while you stepped away from the camera, when you open the door, the person you open it for will see it. Impatient bastards, aren't they? Here is the happy minimum. Something on the feet, something on the rest of you. Dressed like this, one can attend to nearly anything at the front door or anywhere else inside, outside the house. Though the camera does not show it, woke up on time, real breakfast, shaved, groomed, brushed teeth, etc. Though that's part of it too. If you don't care to dress to be minimally functional in the context of your job, consider the adult concept that you dress to be minimally functional in your household. Part of that, whoever shows up at your door, cop, landlord, neighbor, in-laws, salesperson, friend or foe, your kid's friend or foe, working or not, a standard of adulthood means one should be able to receive or send away any visitor, at least during waking hours. Upward adjustment to touch on? Shirt and tie. On any video conference, You look decently professional, professionally decent. Oh crap, is that her again? Answering the door like this, you're a lot more convincing when you tell any visitor that you are working and are indeed in the middle of a video conference. Either way, please don't work in your underwear unless your job is in the sex or fetish trade anyways. Next, concentrating on what makes your work from home possible at all: Internet. Internet is basically the car for the car free, whether you work from home or still commute to a job site. With connectivity being so life and death, I strongly recommend having 2 separate broadband internet providers at your home. Consider the COVID epidemic angle. If another round of COVID or true epidemic were going around, internet drops out, your provider could say, "Sorry, no on-site service calls for the duration, though we will credit you for time without." Credit for time without does not keep you online and working. Having a second internet provider is a prepping balance against such. Keeping 2 internet providers reduces capacity problems when you and your entire family are online. If one goes out, you still have the other. I live in the 1% of the US that has 2 cable providers. Been lucky for that. Along with Fargo, in Chicago there's Comcast and RCN to choose from. In Concord, California, they have Comcast and Astound. The above and my mobile phone, that's a total of 3 internet providers, even though for me, mobile phone does not really count. That's more for an emergency. Most locations have only one single cable internet provider, then DSL via copper phone line. The luckier areas have upgraded from copper to fiber. If I lived outside of my 1%, that's likely what I would do. The first one, cable internet. Second one, either fiber or DSL. Tech note, one cannot have 2 DSL providers at once on a single phone line. One would need 2 separate phone lines to go that route. Keeping 2 separate internet providers doubles the expense, though car-free, you can afford that no problem. Spend hundreds, save thousands. And if you work for yourself, more to the point, spend hundreds to make thousands, tens of thousands, and beyond. Depending on your work, if it's absolutely critical that you must be online, be it for call center, web development, day trading, other, you'll be online always, and you will certainly be online for your own familial and personal usage. When COVID broke in March 2020, people experienced the unexpected issue of working from home, specifically separating personal versus work usage. Especially in a smaller place, especially with families. Working home for an afternoon, for a day, for a week, one can fudge working in the living room, kitchen, dining room, bedroom, or other. Though as many discovered, it's hard to make that go on permanently. Point blank, you must have an office or workspace that is separate from rest of household space. Here, there are no offspring bounding through my house, though this is a fairly small place. My apartment is 24 feet by 19. Adequate for living? Adequate for living as well as working, though not quite so adequate for nationwide house arrest lockdown. Got a little tight during that few weeks. The arrangement I came up with to make it work. Camera does not capture it adequately at any angle. A person sitting at the personal laptop faces over that, plus over the backside of work computer monitors looking towards the main body of the house, whereas anybody sitting at the work computer on the same table looks over that, past the backside of the personal laptop, over the office section looking towards a corner. The psychological aspect makes it critical to have physical separation between personal versus work versus rest of family life. Thankfully, facing opposite directions on this same table suffice in my case. One chair versus the other chair puts my brain into personal mode versus work mode. Try to make that happen without being jammed into and staring at a wall, unless you like that, and most people don't. Your home-based workplace must be sacrosanct so that your household, family, and personal life can also be sacrosanct. In regards to the computer, this means things like you need to write up your status reports, work on a presentation, email your boss, call a customer. That's on the work computer, work phone only. You want to pay your bills, shop, take care of personal business, download music, watch a movie, whatever. That takes place solely on the personal computer. You or your kids need to study, do homework, personal computer only. 2 points about the wiring that photos miss. Extra cabling is tied up to prevent it from expanding out and entangling everything everywhere. Cabling between personal computer and work computer are entirely separate. So if my job ended now, or if I changed jobs, it would not disturb my personal setup a bit to take apart the work computer to return to my employer. The rigid separation between home and work computer sounds a bit rigid, though your workplace demands respect because your home demands respect, and there will come a time when you are glad that you maintained that kind of boundary. This is part of how you can subtly demand such from friends, family, building service people, and any other visitors. There are just some things that you don't want people to talk about or do around your work computer. With my work-issued computer, I doubt that Ayush in Mumbai is listening to the comings and goings of my household, though ultimately, without physically prying the work computer open and without going through its admin level settings, who knows? Similarly, at the end of my shift, I shut the work computer down, entirely powered off, yet that box is still sentient enough to start up on its own every weekday morning. So yeah, respect the fact that you don't 100% know what your work-provided computer does or does not do. This ranks with never work in just your underwear. Drugs and drink are another never do in the workspace, even in your house. At best, it comes off as unprofessional and unseemly for this kind of stuff to show up on the webcam. Workplace professional excellence competitive point. Musical producer Phil Spector always insisted on 0 drugs and 0 booze in the recording studio for anybody working in there because he took it that seriously. In spite of the murder conviction problem, it's hard to argue with his professionally produced product. Many of your coworkers and competitors are high as a kite in at least part of their workday. That's a 0 effort, 0 money down way to keep ahead of them. My work-provided computer does not have a webcam. All of our department meetings are sound only, though this is my own personal webcam setup. The laptop's built-in webcam cannot be detached or unplugged, or for certain turned off, so it has a band-aid over it that does not get removed. The second detachable webcam only gets pointed a respectable direction in case it's on, certainly not towards living areas, bed, or toilet. That said, the second camera is detachable, so if I want it turned off, it's easy to be certain that it is indeed off. In regular life, if you, your family, your house have a crime breach, that is to say, if you get vandalized, robbed, mugged, broken into, home invaded, raped, it's tremendously difficult to turn back to the point of original safety and feeling thereof. Difficult enough that you would likely have to move. Similarly, if you have an inappropriate breach between your job and your personal life, damage from that is also hard to undo, possibly to the point that you would have to get a new job or move or both. And hopefully nobody's got to move, right? Working from home, you can plant your butt in the same chair for 2 to 12 hours at a stretch. Bad workplace seating is literally a pain in the butt, and the back, and the arms, and the torso, and nearly every part of the body. Carpal tunnel and other repetitive stress injuries will wreck your body just as badly at home as at a commute to job. If anything, that will be worse because it will be harder to claim workers' comp in the workspace that is within your own home. So don't do this to yourself. Even if you have to buy and pay for it yourself, get workplace-grade seating. Knee chairs are great for reducing back stress. Also get keyboard and mouse that work best for you. Make certain that your work desk or table is at proper height for your build. The adjustable stand-up work desks, those are pricey, but if you think that's the thing to do, go for it. Just be kind to your feet and to your legs with all that standing. If either of your computers is a desktop tower, lay that flat if you can. If you cannot lay it flat, or if it's not built for that to be done, secure and protect it well, lest you end up having to buy a new computer for your employer. Even with it laying flat, do not put anything on top of your computer. Electronics make tons of heat. Keep them clear and build your setup in a way that it all has a space to breathe. Security note: disable Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on your computers and on your modems and routers. Wireless is much harder to secure. Many hacks occur due to improperly secured wireless. My work and personal computers, along with all peripherals, printer, scanner, mouse, webcam, speakers, headsets, mics, all are 100% hardwired. Ethernet cables are laid out to 5 places in my house where this personal laptop can be plugged in. Much more dependable connection than wireless, that's for sure. And keeping things 100% hardwired is a critical security practice when living in any apartment, condominium, or multiple unit building. Labels for the cables. Do this on your work and personal computers alike. In the case of your home and personal stuff, not just regular computer, but gaming systems, entertainment centers, any friends, family, visitors can take care of stuff so that you don't have to attend to every last thing with those. Service tech visits cost a ridiculous amount per hour, and they consume multiple hours. Labels on the cables make it easier for the tech to know what they are doing and to keep it all moving at a decent pace. Also, for you, when working with any support by phone, unplug and reseat the cable to your printer. Oops, I just unplugged the server to the entire company. Stay with me. It'll take just 5 minutes to restart. When anybody says 5 minutes to restart, that usually means closer to 25. Most support people are under the gun from their employers in regards to call handle time, which means their response will be, "Sorry, can't stay on with you. Call us back when you get that back up and running. We'll pick up where we left off." Security note: never charge a mobile phone by connecting it to a USB port on the computer. Phone and the computer can talk to each other, which is bad security for your sacrosanct personal device, personal life, and it's bad security for your employer's sacrosanct work computer. It can also affect the functionality of the computer. Instead, only charge your mobile phone on a power brick or on an AC outlet phone charger. The only time you should purposely connect a mobile phone to a computer through USB is if you are transferring files between them. If your home office is in a guest room, fold the futon into where it's more like a couch than in the full open bed position. If you have a regular bed in there, try to get rid of it. Working in the same room as your bed has the psychological effect of putting your business to sleep. A friend of mine, with his own business, he moved from the guest room to the dining area. That was the only change he made, and his sales nearly doubled. It was like night and day. If you are in a small apartment, or if you cannot get rid of the bed, then make it upon awakening. Purpose this serves: if cat or dog likes to burrow into your bed or simply curl up on top, you'll look over, you'll know exactly where they are. Seeing that curled up lump under the sheet's bedspread, you don't even have to get up to check on them. Making your bed psychologically commits you to getting on with the friction of the day. You might flop down for a 30-minute cat nap in late afternoon, but you're not going back to bed. If you need a place to put something, some space to sort out papers, you have that large open surface to use without dirtying the inside of your bed. Similarly, if reading or studying is part of your work, you can alternate between that versus your work desk, versus dining table, versus other. No matter what shape the rest of your bedroom, making your bed neatens a very large percentage of that room to look a whole lot better with near zero effort. Certainly a plus if your webcam gets pointed that direction. You don't have to make it like the Marines where one can bounce a quarter off it. Just neaten, flatten the sheets, fold or roll up extra blankets, and you're done. Easy as pie. Get decent sound. People will put up with poor quality video, but if there's shit sound, they will click off your video onto something else in an instant. And if that shit sound is on a phone conversation, they will just hang up in your face. You don't need recording studio quality mic, earbuds, or headset, but don't get the cheapest garbage you can find in some flea market either. On my mobile phone, this headset completes the sound perfectly. Takes out surrounding ambient noise even if riding in a car, on a bus, train, walking in traffic. No sound of wind either. Similarly, pay attention to ambient sound in your house. TVs, gaming in other rooms, family members, housemates, air conditioners, or if out and about, people, traffic, wind. Back to family members. I don't mean to be mean, but that old school saying of children should be seen but not heard absolutely applies to any sort of business call. That includes dogs as well as human children. Either way, nobody wants to talk over your kids or try to listen to you over them. More about this will be covered in a separate video. Purchase a white noise maker to preserve privacy between your office versus rest of the house, or go to simplynoise.com if you need noise reduction quickly. For your own computers, be they for personal use or your own business, use an online backup service and your own external media. Regularly back your stuff up when you finish working for the day. You never know what might happen to your computer or your house overnight. Tame the paper blob. Never let it grow. Take care of your correspondence, bills, and other business in a timely manner. If you have to wait until payday, set aside time in your planner. Literally, make an appointment with yourself to go through the bills. I say this in the context of paper, but this applies even if you do business online or through email. Myself, though I pay my bills online, I still receive paper bills and statements. It's easier to prove anything in a courtroom, as well as good for tax records, as well as proving residence. Either way, keep up with it so that this does not become this and this. Once you're done, file it here and here. Shoebox is for a year's worth of bills and records, along with locking file cabinet for less time direct items, though the shoebox does get locked inside the filing cabinet. Keep and use a locking file cabinet. It does not have to be a regulation gun safe, unless you keep a gun. It just keeps people out of your stuff. Credit card bills, bank statements, passport, social security card, etc. With a locking file cabinet, it's the phrase that it keeps honest people honest. I believe my place to be secure. It's not like I think people are coming in and pawing through my stuff when I'm out and about, though without a webcam, one can never know for certain. When I'm out, some building service person needs to come in due to leaking pipe or such, I'm comfortable that my business and personal papers are secure, even if I start commuting to a conventional workplace again or travel for an extended time frame. A good scanner takes pictures that are sharper than what the human eye can take in. They're worth the money. Scan and electronically store anything that's relevant for such, shred the rest. Wait until garbage collection morning to take pieces outside. Avoid leaving shredded pieces in your bin overnight if you can. No need to deal with business fraud due to insecure garbage. Install good lighting. Even if you do 99% of everything on your computer, computer screens don't cut it when you have to read or deal with anything that's on paper in fine print. Keep a decent stock of basic supplies that you regularly use so you don't have to stop mid-project to run out for toner or other. That kind of thing just kills momentum. Keep a separate stock of supplies for family members. If they have everything they need and want out there, they won't be tempted to come into your office looking for stuff. No need for fancy implements. Those are solid dressing jars for the pens. Cat litter containers and labels work well for storage also. See-through container bins mean you don't even really need the labels. Those plastic bins for that super pricey fresh lettuce, they are useful for storing different supply items. All helpful dollar-wise when you can use and reuse everyday items. Make the money first, then get the decorator quality office implements. Always keep a decent stock of batteries, again, in your office and separate for the rest of the house. Buy and use a battery tester. It will save you much money and help you with troubleshooting problems with electronics. Low tech. You might do better on paper or analog than you think. I personally do best using a paper calendar combined with a whiteboard. It just works well. Magnifying glass is a great thing when going through a paper contract of any kind line by line. And once you've slogged through that contract, a hand-run timer is perfect to flop down on the couch, close your eyes, and catnap for 30 minutes. If you are still working for an actual employer, the timer keeps you from returning late from your 15-minute breaks or 30-minute lunches. For most of us, even complete digital natives such as Gen Z, when it comes to trying to get ideas out, to brainstorm, to put thoughts into form where they can be usable, it's a tremendously messy and disorderly process. You try to squeeze it into a Word document or text file, your ideas will take a hike in less than a second and be gone forever. At least initially, onto paper is the way to go. So keep paper plus pens handy for when situations and inspirations present themselves. You can make a spiffy presentation out of it later. At least get your idea out of your head and into the world first. If severe weather approaches, weather monitoring radio sounds out warnings. If you live near the beach, you never turn your back on the ocean. If you live in the Great Plains, you never turn your back on the sky. Weather in North Dakota can turn gnarly in a second, sometimes fatally so. Underneath, that's just indoor-outdoor thermometer, helps me save big time on heating and AC. Oh, to save space anything that can be mounted on a wall, get a drill and screwdriver and make that happen. It's your workspace, your office, inside your home. Clean it regularly. Does not have to be clean enough to do surgery in, though really, the place you commuted to was likely a shithole. Why emulate that at your house? On that last point, lest anybody think I'm needlessly pushing a bad attitude, there was one workplace that was so bad I regularly went across the street to the city bus station to use the restroom. The practical purpose of cleanup is to get your ducks into a row each night and to refresh the joint, though especially in a smaller place where you cannot seal off a specific office room from the rest of the house, you still protect your workspace from the ups and downs of bringing in groceries, family, having friends over, etc. Each night, particularly sailing into the weekend, putting papers into file cabinet or shredder, wiping things down, vacuuming, taking the trash out, making final go-through next week's calendar, both work and personal. It gives your next work day a smooth start, keeps you from getting blindsided, gives a nice lift to your feng shui too. With all that stuff taken care of, let your weekend begin. Every time, after you've turned it off, wiped it down, and put it all away, once your work shift is over, get out of the house. Whether on 2 feet, 2 wheels, whether alone, with your dog, with your family, get yourself outside of those 4 walls. You can walk, you can work out, you can go to the grocery store, or other. Just get your ass outside, no matter what the weather. Your sanity depends on you doing so. There are plenty of businesses which need additional workspace. As examples, if you sell on eBay, build custom motorcycles, coach for bodybuilding, do catering, all those and plenty more need additional workspace way beyond what's described here. This video solely covers the office aspect of that. Just like car-free life varies greatly with location, every business type, every job, every company is different, which means every office and every home office is different. A more important car-free skill than just doing what Mark Fest thinks you should do is that of being able to think on your feet, including while those feet are pedaling, and to create your own solutions, however unique or quirky they might be. The only real criteria is that it works well for you. With all that uniqueness that we faced as individuals, please comment below so I can best respond to your car-free needs and questions. And of course, like, share, and subscribe. Laters, Mark out.